Yeah, hey guys, so I thought I'd just do this video to show you my fruiting tropical plants that I have growing outdoors, and just to show you how they did over our frosty and cold winter. Some of them are a bit disastrous, but I wanted to share with you how they did anyway, because gardening's not always about successes. Failures is what you learn from, and without failures you can't be a good gardener in my opinion. So there's always a learning experience in it for me, even if I do fail, and I wanted to share that with you guys so that you can learn from my mistakes as well. So anyway, let's go check out all those fruiting plants. So this is the sweet gold tamarillo, and as you can see it's lost all its leaves. The tips of the branches are a little bit damaged. You can see they're sort of all shriveled up. But what I'll do is just cut those tips off with the secateurs, and hopefully it will shoot out some new growth. You can see at the tips here are some new leaves, so the plant is still alive, and at the tops of where all the leaves have come off there are small little notches which looks like it's going to shoot out some more branches, which is a good sign. So not all is lost with that one. We'll see how it recovers over the next month or two. Over here is the sweet red tamarillo, and I've just gone and put some stakes around it to stop it getting blown over by the wind. This thing here is just to stop the branches scraping on it in the wind as well, and damaging the trunk or the branches. But it lost most of its leaves, but just in the last month since spring it's grown back most of its leaves on the top. There's still no leaves down the bottom, but it's all good. Now you might remember last time I showed you this, it was actually flowering, and one of those turned into a fruit. So it's still really small, and it is growing the opposite time of year that it's supposed to grow, but I'm leaving it on there and seeing what's happening. But there's more flowers coming up there, and up there, some more over there. But this one seems to be a little bit more hardy than the other tree. It is right next to the other tree, so yeah, it seems to have done a lot better. So you might remember this plant from a previous video I did. This is my Cape Gooseberry, and as you can see it's still doing really well. It's covered in fruit and flowers, and throughout the winter it didn't lose its leaves. So I did have it covered in frost cloth, and it seems to have done the job pretty well. When I did remove the frost cloth about a month ago, I found that there was about 10 Cape gooseberries sitting on the ground ready to eat. So that was quite a good surprise for the beginning of spring. But yeah, I'm so surprised that it's actually still flowering and fruiting and doing well. So I will plant a few more of these this spring, and hopefully they will do as well as this guy has. So do you guys remember what I had growing here? Yep, my red banana passionfruit. And you might have seen the video that I did last time, which was a bit of a disastrous video. It was when I went away for a week and I came back, and that was when we started to get really bad frosts, and we had like 4 or 5 really bad frosts, and it pretty much killed the whole plant. There was like a little bit of new or fresh growth that was still alive, and so at that point I quickly covered it in frost cloth and tried to revive it pretty much and keep it protected. But I think just those constant cold temperatures, from that point we still had a lot more frost, and we were just getting frost after frost after frost, which basically was just knocking the plant while it was down. So it has not survived, so I thought I would update you guys since I said I would. But basically if you sort of snap these apart, you just see that it's really fibrous and just pulls off. So yeah, it's not looking pretty. Down here as well, like it's not even going to come back at the base. I can just snap these fully off and it's just fully dry in there. So yeah, never mind. I do have something to show you though, which you might be a bit relieved about. Check this out. I couldn't help myself and I went and bought another red banana passionfruit vine, just because it's such a cool thing to grow and I really wanted to give it another go. just because it didn't work the first time doesn't mean I can't stop it from dying next winter. So I'm going to plant it in a more sheltered area up behind a shed, and hopefully that will protect it a bit more, and I'll get onto it earlier with the frost cloth and just cover it really well. Sorry about the wind noise, but yeah, this thing is looking a bit rugged at the moment. It's all sort of tied up together, and yeah, I really want to get it into the ground and get it start to train it up to the new trellis. But yeah, that's my red banana passion fruits. So this is my pomegranate tree, and I don't know whether I would call it a tropical tree or not, because they're actually hardy down to -10 degrees Celsius. So I've had this outdoors exposed to the frost and the cold over the winter, and it just went deciduous, lost all its leaves, and since spring it has come back strong as ever. So when I bought it from the nursery it looked terrible, it was root bound and really unhealthy, but as you can see now it's a nice healthy little shrub. Also I have these pomegranate plants that I grew from seed in autumn this year. So just before winter they were still very small, but I decided to leave them outdoors exposed to the cold as well, and they lost all their leaves, went deciduous, and they just looked like little dead sticks. But since spring's come, they've come back and grown all their leaves, and they're looking strong as ever. So yeah, it just proves that you can grow pomegranates in a reasonably cold winter, and they should come back for you in spring just fine. So this here was a bit of a disaster. This is my mountain pawpaw, or mountain papaya. I think in New Zealand and Australia we call papayas pawpaw. But anyway, as you can see, it's pretty dead looking. So the whole stem is just pretty much hollow now. Like, these are really watery stems, so I guess it just froze and melted in a way. But yeah, not looking too good. I did cover it in frost cloth, but obviously that hasn't done the job. But if you go down here and look at the base, you can see new growth forming, which is pretty cool. So about 2 inches of the base of the stem is really hard and still intact, and then from about here up is just, no good. So I'm going to cut that off about here and let this new growth carry on growing. So as you can see, it is growing from 2 points, so it looks like I will end up with a really cool double trunked papaya plant. So that is pretty exciting. Now the funny thing is that only 5 minutes away from where I live they do grow mountain papayas in town, but that is more of like a coastal town, and where I live is out on the open plains, and it's a lot more exposed to frost and wind, so it is a little bit more difficult to grow tropicals out here where I live, but it still doesn't stop me, and there's no point in giving up yet, so it's still doing well. Anyway, it's starting to rain, so I'm getting out of here. Alrighty, I'll see you guys soon.